Let's have a quick look at the workings of the GWG 2000. First, perform a long press of the bottom left. That gets you into time. That also checks the battery power. In this instance, as you could see, it was H for high. The top left-hand button performs a few functions in this home screen. Let's just press this little button up here and just see what happens. So first of all, you have the time. You press it again, that gives you the date, Monday the 15th of November. Press it again, and that gives you the date. The barometer reading, one little square over 20 hours. Compass, so as you can see, north is in that direction over there. So the second hand always points north. So if perchance you want to know what direction that is down there, then you point in that direction, and that is 112 degrees east southeast in that direction, that way. What we can do from here is we can undo the crown, pull the crown out, and that would be for calibrating the compass. We can press bottom left and that can set the declination, and when you've finished with the compass, you press the bottom left hand button, that brings you out of the compass. This button down here gives you the altimeter, so we will press that once, takes you into altimeter, 6 meters, which is pretty accurate because we're just above sea level here. We're at clearly at sea level. We will calibrate the altimeter. So you enter altimeter mode by pressing the bottom right, and as you can see, it's currently showing 19 meters, which is not a million miles away, but we can calibrate that and get it a little bit more accurate. So you undo the center crown, pull the crown out until the height starts to flash, and then you can turn it anti-clockwise. Just keep going, and take it down to 0. And then when you've calibrated it and you're on 0, push the crown back in again and then tighten it up. When you're in the altimeter mode, what you can do is you can undo the crown, pull the crown out, the hands move out the way, and then if you press the bottom left button, you can change the interval to how often it measures the altitude between 5 seconds, and if you rotate the crown, it changes it between 5 seconds and 2 minutes. So if you want a very accurate changing of the altitude, then keep it on 5 seconds. I tend to keep it on 5 seconds. Press bottom left. You can select the difference between 100 meters and 1000 meters. So if you were in the mountainous areas, then I would definitely recommend that you choose 1000 meters. I do think this is a little bit of a gimmick, to be honest. Now what happens if we press this little button down here? Press it once, gives you the time. Twice gives you the barometer. We'll change the altimeter to 150 meters. Just screw the crown back in again, keep the habit of that. Come out of that, go into barometer, and it's showing 107.8. So the barometer is not affected by the altimeter on this. We'll make it even higher. And when you've turned it a lot of times, it then just keeps going, and it kind of picks up speed as it goes as well, which you may be able to see there. We'll take it to 500 meters. That's fine. Come out, time, barometer, and it's still 1008. So as you can see, the altimeter and the barometer are independent of each other. So don't go adjusting one thinking that it will compensate for the other, because it won't. You can calibrate the barometer by pulling out the crown, and obviously then the barometer is now flashing. But unless you know exactly what the barometer is at this level, in this place, leave it very well alone. And don't expect to look online, get a barometric reading from your local vicinity, because of course your local vicinity will be at a different elevation and it'll have a different air pressure to where you are. So my advice is to leave the barometer well alone unless you have your own independent, separate barometer, like a Kestrel or something similar. But other than that, the barometer on this is probably calibrated to sea level anyway, so I would leave it well alone. When you look at my sensor video, you will notice that the barometer on this matches the pressure on the Kestrel and does not match the barometric pressure on the Kestrel. That is because I believe that this is calibrated to 0 meters. Press it again. Now this gives you the temperature, recall, stopwatch. And you start the stopwatch by pressing the bottom right button. Yeah, that pauses it. And then this one up here, and that's your lap button. And then cancel it, bottom right, reset it, top right. You have a countdown timer, activate it bottom left, reset it top right. You have an alarm. You have 5 of them, and something called sig off. What the hell's sig off? How you set your alarm is very simple. Undo the crown, pull it out. If you press bottom left, that gives you your hours in 24 of them. And then when everything is flashing, then your minutes change. So alarm 1 off, press top left button, off and on. Before you travel, what you do need to do, of course, is to change the time. So when you're on the aeroplane, you need to know the time difference. Now, the Maldives clearly was 5 hours ahead. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that you go 5 clicks, because if you just go 5, 1, 2, 5, that takes you to 5:20, which is only 3.5 hours ahead of the current time. So this watch does half-hour increments where needed as well. So in this instance, you will need to go another 1, 2, 3 to this point here. The time here is coming up to 2 o'clock on this Apple Series 7 watch. So because the Maldives is 5 hours ahead, if it's 2 o'clock here, then it's 7 o'clock in the Maldives. Now, you will also notice that the time shown down here matches the time there. Now, if you want to have your home time, press this button down here until you get to world time. Now you will notice that it's showing the home time as 16:57, which is the time in the Maldives. Now, if you pull out the crown and go back to the current time, you will notice that the hands, don't panic, you will notice that the hands are showing UK time of 2 o'clock, but it's showing the Maldives time of 7 o'clock. Press and hold top left and it reverses. So now you have your home time of 2 o'clock here and the Maldives time of 7 o'clock there. And then obviously when you come home, you just go back to home time and then you're showing 2 o'clock there. And if you go back to world time, it remembers your Maldives time. That's actually quite useful, actually. And of course, to reset it, simply pull the crown out and then move anti-clockwise on the crown to get the second hand up to the noon, 12 o'clock for GMT time in London. You can easily, if necessary, change the time manually if you are not in a remote control or radio controlled area. In the normal time section, pull out until you have city flashing, top left, hour minute, you can adjust that. And if you press bottom left, you'll get hour minute flashing. Press it again, you can change the hour, backwards and forwards. Press it again and you can change the year and the date and the month. You notice that the second hand has stopped, so you can adjust the minutes to the exact second. So as we would say with the Rolex users, this watch is hackable. But of course you can go down to the radio control section all the way around there, and from that section it will automatically once a day check the time for you when you are in a country or an area that has radio control signal. Right, one thing to note, if you set the watch to GMT time, which effectively is London time, auto remote control won't work, and nor will daylight saving time. It won't work. In order to make it work, make sure that your time is set to London time. And then when it's set to London time, so not GMT time, which is at noon, 12 o'clock, one click to the right is set for London time, which is still GMT time. And now radio control works toggling on and off. So that might just be a useful little thing to note, that in order to have the radio control and daylight savings to work, you need to have the city set as London, not GMT. Press bottom left and you can turn on and off daylight saving time. Press it again and you can turn on and off the keystroke noise. Turn it again and you can turn on and off the auto light. So if it was on your wrist, you tilt your wrist towards you and it turns the light on. You can turn the light so it stays on for 1.5 seconds or 3 seconds, and then you can change the 24 hours to 24 hours or 12 hours, and then you can have power save on or off. With the difference, if you set it to 100 meters, this is how it works. Press and hold top left. It resets and it goes to the second hand goes to the 3 o'clock position. Now what we'll do is we'll go down a little hill. Now we've only gone down a very, very small hill, and you can see that it is showing that we have gone down 10 meters. You can see the -2 on the right, but the second hand is pointing against the what would be the equivalent of the 1. So that means that we have gone down 10 meters. If you do the reverse, you can actually go up. And of course then that will show you going up 10 meters, 20 meters, but it only goes up to about 80 or 100 meters. And once it's done that, it just stops then, it doesn't do anything else. And if you set it to the 1,000, then obviously it will literally, rather than do it in 10s, do it in 100 meters. And then when you get to 800 meters of elevation gained or lost, it just stops again. So I have to say it is of limited use. So here you can see it's come down to almost the -2, so almost a 20-meter drop, and that's just coming down a small hill here. You know, it really is a very, very small hill that we have here, so it is very, very sensitive. Where I guess it could be useful is if you were navigating and you were going up a hill and you wanted to make sure you came down the hill and you came off the hill at the same place or the same elevation, then I guess that it would give you an approximate point of where you would turn off on the hill, but you of course would have had to have been there originally already. So I very much hope that you've enjoyed this quick rundown of the functions that this GWG 2000 does. I have to say, for £700, although very, very soon you will be getting discount off these. I mean, I had a 10% discount off this just for buying it online direct from Casio, and I have seen this at 15% off somewhere. So, and I certainly hope that you have enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching. See you next time.